welcome to Bursa PLC. Welcome to Bursa PLC's IR Series 2, Centralised Sustainability Intelligence and FTSE4Good. Sustainability is a growing priority for investors and companies alike. Investors are increasingly looking to invest in companies that are well managed and have strong ESG practices. We will discuss about ESG investing, the benefits of Bursa Centralised Sustainability Intelligence, and how PLCs can use the FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Index to attract investors and enhance their corporate reputation. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker today, Ms. Wong. Hui oversees the index and sustainability business value proposition and its related ecosystem development for the exchange. She has over 20 years of experience working in Bursa Malaysia and has spent her earlier career managing data, supervising the exchange in-house index operations. Following the launch of the FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Index in 2014, she was one of the core team members to kickstart the industry engagement on the FTSE4Good awareness program. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming Hui Yin. I'll pass to you, Hui Yin.
Thank you, Miji. Very good morning, everybody. Thank you for sharing your Monday morning with me. I hope I'm not taking you away from anything too important. But to be honest, this is just equally as important because well, the 1 hour that we'll go through is I'm going to just tell you briefly, what Bursa has put in place, put in motion, tools and policies that will help you transition better, that will help your company stay on top of the game in terms of ESG reporting, sustainability, make you more competitive, and hopefully you can leverage on what is already ready, and there's no need to really reinvent the wheel. So, but before I begin, right, some of you may have met me previously. I think if you had attended any FTSE4Good talks or engagements, even within your own company, you would have met me and my team, my colleagues, Tintin especially, who is also on the call. So don't be shy if there's any questions that you have, and I think the chat box is ready for you to input your questions, and we will try to address them as much as we can. So Fidaus, can we go to the first slide? So before I jump straight into FTSE4Good and the Centralised Sustainability Intelligence reporting platform, let us just go through briefly, what has happened, in the last year or so since we last spoke. So that Bursa has already set some policies that will help companies transition better and faster. That we are starting off with a set of enhanced listing requirement pertaining to sustainability reporting. So companies will need to, by end of this year, for financial year 31st December 2023, disclose a set of 22 indicators that will be common across. So this I think if you were to reference the listing requirement and everything, you would get a view of what those indicators are. It is E, S, and G, that is spread across 22 indicators, and these are all quantitative indicators. And we'll start off with main market companies first. ACE market companies will follow the year after. And we continue to have a lot of advocacy programs, especially engaging with your management, your board, to ensure that everybody is on the same page. And we have continued to enrich Bursa Sustain, which is our ESG knowledge repository. That the website is very rich and, to our opinion, somewhat underutilized. So just go in, make full use of it, and get yourself apprised with what is happening, and it's continuously being updated with new content. So go check it out. And lastly, it's what I'm going to touch this time around is about us building an ecosystem that will facilitate this the just transition for companies. So we have first of all the FTSE4Good ESG scores that started off as an index tool. Right now we are going to roll it out to all companies. I will explain later how it will happen. And then you would have heard that Bursa recently just went live with our Bursa Carbon Exchange, the BCX. So this will help with companies that are into uncovering carbon credits from their projects, and also to validate to see whether or not you have any carbon needs that you can offset. And last but not least, I'm also going to touch a little bit about the Centralised Sustainability Intelligence platform, where this is not only a platform intended for public listed companies. This is also a tool, a facility that will bind all the ecosystem players together, including our other policymakers in the government agencies. Next slide, please. So this is just some gaps and challenges that we have summed up to tell you what we have observed in the market. Firstly, it is the data availability that is comparable and reliable. So we noticed that companies, a lot of them are reporting based on different understanding, different levels of transition. Some may be more ready than others. Some are more well-versed in the frameworks. So we are trying to see how we can help companies that are not so advanced yet, that need more help in the journey. How do we facilitate this? That's number one. Number two is that we know not only locally, globally, if you are doing business overseas, especially with the European countries, right, there is always a lot of standards that they are tightening. The likes of the ESRS, the CBAM that is coming, and then the last year, not last year, we are still in 2020. In June this year, the ISP, IFRS S1 and S2 were announced. So these are all the things that companies will need to step up and address in their sustainability report. And then thirdly, also there is the need for tools to help companies, because we know very much that although sustainability, they say, it's very policy driven, it's subjective, it's how you position your what you report. But like it or not, there is still a need for very quantitative data, and in order for you to actually consolidate and report accurate and data of quality, you actually need digital tools to help you in that journey. And fourthly, it is not only us doing for the sake of doing, it is a very real need from the market, from policymakers. When you are operating in some jurisdiction, you are compelled to comply to all these rules. And of course, even your stakeholders, your investors, your bankers, your clients are all asking for more reporting, more disclosures, in order for them to take comfort that you are addressing what they need in terms of being part of the supply chain. So these are some of the things we have observed in the market. So next, we will just jump straight into FTSE4Good. So next slide. So okay, we start off with FTSE4Good. Previously, it was known as an index, a tool for companies to qualify into an index and such. So right now, we are trying to actually expand the utility of these ESG ratings. Yes, we very much started off with it being a tool for indexing. So you must meet a certain threshold, meet some index parameters, then you get included in index, and then voila, you are part of this 90 plus companies that qualify. But right now we are trying to expand that usage, which is first of all, we are trying to use it as a corporate profiling tool. That is why we are going to have this ESG score to be assessed or to be provided to all companies listed on Bursa Malaysia. That's number one. So once you have that profiling tool, you can put it in as a IR, storyboard. You can qualify yourselves for awards. Because Bursa does have an ESG award that is very much based on FTSE4Good. Last year we started the award with the Edge. This year we are continuing. The award is coming up in November, and the results are actually now being finalized, and it is all based on FTSE4Good assessment. Number two is what we do as a bread and butter for the exchange, which is using ESG score as an investment strategies. So that the institutional investors especially really much attuned to matters of sustainability, and they are asking their investee companies to buck up and to comply and report more, because otherwise they will slowly start to divest and probably shift their focus elsewhere. So this is something that is very real. And also our brokers are actually looking to tag this in the front end, something that is still work in progress, and something that will require some investment from both sides to be able to roll it out. But as a start, you would know that our FTSE4Good scores are actually available on our website, but it's not the exact scoring. It is based on a star rating. So it is 4-star for the best top 25 performers, 3-star for the next 25, and only 1-star for the bottom 25%. So that is how we position it. So this is just as a point of reference, and for investors who actually want to get the exact numbers, they can actually subscribe for it. But for now, I think for any general investors, I think that piece of information on the 1-star to 4-star, I think it will suffice just to let you know where they stand. And thirdly, it is also about using this FTSE4Good score to ease transition, because banks right now are looking for ways to actually have a yardstick to measure how well their companies that they loan to are performing in terms of complying to ESG standards and such. So this is one of the yardstick that they are using right now. We have signed MOUs with multiple banks, Lions, OCBC, HSBC, Amana, and CIMB. I think I missed out Maybank. Maybank is also one of our partner bankers. And we are working with other ecosystem players like MGTC, ICDM, and UNGC as well. Okay, so next slide. Okay, this is just to for those who know, I think this may be a repeat, but I think just to help as a first layer of understanding of what FTSE4Good is. It is right now we position it as an ESG score, which is also an index. So the index itself, together with the ESG score, was launched in December 2014. And after that, in 2021, we actually launched another variant of the index, which is the Sharia, FTSE Bursa Malaysia Sharia Index. Why we did this was because when we launched the index, there was some feedback from the market, the ones that were more geared towards ethical investing, Sharia investment. They were asking, why are some companies like the gaming stocks, the brewery were included, right? So to address the need of that group of investors, we actually overlaid the SC's Sharia compliance status, and we crafted a Sharia variant of the index in 2021. And the FTSE4Good index is actually not only existing in Malaysia, it is actually a global index run by the London Stock Exchange Group, FTSE Russell. Okay, and how the ESG score is assessed and tabulated is very much aligned to the global standards like the GRI, the CDP, and the TCFD. Okay, and very importantly, the box below, I think this is just to give you a better understanding of what it entails. Firstly, this is not a ESG assessment done by Bursa Malaysia. I think contrary to a lot of understanding out there, when they say, oh, ESG FTSE4Good score, let's talk to Bursa Malaysia, let them do something about it. We are not the ones assessing, it's our index partner, FTSE Russell. Although we do have a very direct communication with the assessment team and everything, it is very much a third party play, because they are also governed by their own index governance, and good practices. So we trust that they are doing their job, as they should, and it is very non-biased, and is also governed by strict rules. Okay, and the assessment is actually based on only publicly available information. So for those of you who have never had a FTSE4Good ESG assessment and you are worried, oh no, there's another set of questionnaire that's coming my way, who do I assign the survey to? Not to worry, all based on publicly available information. So what you need to do is just ensure that your sustainability report, your websites, your annual reports are all all contain the key ESG related information that you want the public to know, right? And thirdly, I think that's something that some companies also ask, do I need to pay for it? Very good news, it is fully funded by Bursa Malaysia. Okay, and of course, like any ratings, credit ratings, or ESG scores, it is not a one-time I affix a score to you and it stays forever, perpetual. It is going to be updated every year. So once a year after you publish your key reports, your annual reports or sustainability reports, the analysts will pick it up and they will update the ESG score. Okay. And although it's based on publicly available information, there is still a window for companies that are assessed to provide feedback. So I'll take you through that. Just a short slide on what the assessment process is to give you the flavor of what's to come. Okay. Well, I can see a lot of questions coming up. My team will be addressing it if I can't answer at the end of the presentation. Okay. So data source use, important, annual reports, sustainability reports, and corporate websites. So these are the three key sources. If there's anything that you want the public to know, make sure that it is all there. Okay, don't put it as an internal memo, internal document, and say that, oh, I have very good practices, but how come my ESG score is so low? I think that is the reason. It is not put up in public domain. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is to let you guys know what is coming. So we started the journey with only companies that are in our universe that will qualify in the index. Now we are that is the FTSE Bursa Malaysia Index. So there are a ballpark about 250 to 300 companies that is in this index. I will show you later why so. Okay. So right now, 2022 up until mid this year, it was still very much a mass universe conversation. So from 2023 mid this year onwards, we are going to start driving the expansion. So we'll start off with working on expanding the main market universe first. So whether or not you are in the index doesn't matter, we will start expanding. So the EMAS index, the numbers is about 35% of all main market companies. So by end of this year, we aspire to hit about 65%. Then by June 2024, 100% of all main market companies will have a FTSE4Good ESG score. Then we will work on the ACE market in 2025. So by 2025, hopefully, all listed companies will get FTSE4Good score. Okay. Next. Okay, this is the FTSE4Good ESG ratings model. So there are about 300 indicators that is spread out across these 14 themes. The 14 themes are governed by the three pillars. The environment pillars will have the likes of biodiversity, climate change, pollution and resources, water security, and environmental supply chain. That's for the environment pillar. For the social pillar, you have labor standards, human rights and community, health and safety, customer responsibility, and social supply chain. That's for social theme and social pillar. And then for the governance pillar, we have themes like anti-corruption, corporate governance, risk management, and tax transparency. So altogether, 14 themes that is underpinned by 300 plus indicators. But usually, although there are 300 plus indicators, a company will typically be only assessed about 110 to 120 indicators that is applicable to you. Why I say applicable? Because all companies have different businesses, right? So different businesses, their exposure to the themes may differ. So you can see the bottom table there, right? Exposure, we have negligible, low, medium, high. So from this ESG rating model, how FTSE does is that, based on the industry that you operate in or the sector you operate in, they would have already predefined what are the high exposure theme that is applicable to your company, right? And you usually share the same exposure with your peers, the companies that operate in the same environment and in the same industry. Okay, and then we'll have the scores to determine how well you're measuring, to measure how well you are mitigating all these ESG risks. So 0 means that they cannot find anything on your public disclosure. 5 means you have the best practice. So the ESG ratings is actually a exposure weighted score between these two, the exposure and the score. And the final ESG ratings is actually ranges from 0 to 5. 0 being no ESG disclosure, 5 means you have the best practice. Okay, next slide. Okay, when we say the 14 themes, you say biodiversity, climate change, and what does it actually mean? So the box below is actually telling you in a nutshell, what do the indicators look for? So usually it's about policy, do you have a policy that oversees these themes? Do you have data and metrics targets in place to help you reduce water usage, have better manage your energy consumption, then have better upskilling for your staff, and employees participation. And do you have any certification if pertaining to health and safety, and are there any initiatives to engage with your wider community, with your employees, on ESG matters? And then there's risk management. So all these things are stack up, and are part of the indicators that they ask, in a nutshell. Okay, next slide. Okay, I spoke a little bit about theme exposure being accorded in line with the sectors that you operate in. So this is just to show you, the differences between, the more ESG sensitive sectors compared to the ones that may be not subject to such strict lens, right? So the first one is furnishing, which is a furnishing distributor. So for a distributor that is not doing any manufacturing, right, you can see that the risk exposure is pretty low. In fact, they may not even have anything that is high exposure. So you can see, okay, labor standards, human rights, corporate governance is always something that is always needs to be there, but then you see on the extreme, the plantation companies, can see there is a lot of red. Likewise with, I think, property developer and constructions, right? Because of that is how they deem these sectors to be. They are more prone to polluting the environment, and they're more prone to wrongdoings, because they are managing a lot of migrant workers and such. So that there is a stricter rule that governs them. You can see, when it comes to environment, practically, everything is red. And it comes to social, likewise, and I think only leniency found in corporate governance and anti-corruption, right? So you can imagine, companies that operate in all these high risk sectors are usually compelled to do more, report more, and just stay on top of the game before they can get any credit for good ESG behavior. Okay, next. Okay, I spoke about ESG score and everything, but there is still interest in okay, so I get an ESG score, does 2.8 allow me entrance into the index? Is it good enough? Is it, how do I compare? So this is just to make everybody get on the same page on how one qualify into the index. Although this is not really a key consideration right now, because ESG score is for everybody to make use of, but let's also spend a little bit of time on the index construction. So just now I spoke about EMAS, right? So you can see the red box in the middle, parent index. This is the FTSE Bursa Malaysia EMAS index. it is made up of our headline index, the KLCI. You know that when we quote about how the market is doing, we always quote the KLCI, right? So KLCI actually has 30 of the top market cap stocks. Okay, and then when we merge it with the mid 70 index, it forms the FTSE Bursa Malaysia Top 100 Index. Then the Top 100, when it merges with the small cap index, that's when you get the EMAS Index. So this is the parent index. This is where the 260 to 300 companies sits under. And then from this index, that is where you spin off all your thematic index, the likes of the EMAS Sharia, Hijaz Sharia, the mid cap Sharia. You also have the palm oil, and you have this to FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Index and FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Sharia Index. Okay, so this is where the spin-off happens. So next question. So how do you qualify into the EMAS Index, right? So next slide. Okay. This is just for your general knowledge. Also, not to worry if you're not part of the EMAS Index for now, although it's something that you should aspire to be, because without getting into the EMAS Index, you will not be able to qualify into any of the thematic index, including the KLCI. So it starts off with main market companies. So the universe is all main market companies. So we have a ballpark of about 780 main market companies listed right now on the exchange. And these main market companies will go through a filter. So the filter for investable universe. The first one is market cap. So they want to ensure that your market cap is sizable enough. That's number one. Number two is free float. You must ensure that there's adequate number of shares floated for the public to trade, which is a very lenient 15%. I think this one is something that everybody qualifies. And the last one, which is the toughest hurdle for a lot of Malaysians, especially given that the market is not so active right now, is the liquidity test. So this test actually wants to ensure that the companies included in the index are the stocks that are frequently traded or consistently traded through a period of 12 months. So once you pass this 3 screening, then you get included into the EMAS index. So just to give you a flavor of how strict it is, so from 780, you filtered through all these 3 criteria, you end up with 260 companies that qualify for the index. Okay. Okay, next page. So from this 260, what happens? So how does the FTSE4Good elements come into place, and how do you get into FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Index? So 260 companies, you know that they will get an ESG score of 0 to 5. So once they look at their score, then you will determine the first one, which is inclusion threshold 2.9. So you must at a minimum score 2.9 or higher before you are eligible to get included into the index. Okay, that's condition number one. Second condition is, I spoke about the red color themes, right? So if the red color themes appear in your company radius and you score a 0 for the red color themes, you're not eligible to qualify into the index. Why that is so is because the rationale is this, something that is flagged as very high risk and your company doesn't have anything in the public domain to address it, is somewhat of a red flag, to say that, okay, this company may not be addressing all the key ESG indicators, so let's wait for a while, let's wait for them to come on board and address all these pertinent ESG risks before we get them onto the index. Okay, and the third one was the most recent change in the index construction, which is climate change. Climate change is something that is now a global priority. I mean, even when they talk to the Bank Negara, the FIs, right now the focus is very much on the environmental pillar, especially climate change. So in line with all those global development, FTSE 2-3 years back, actually imposed a new condition on the inclusion for the FTSE4Good Index, which is all companies must at a minimum acknowledge that climate change is a real business risk for them, and put in place measures on what they can do to address climate change. So at the minimum, all companies must score 1 but the high carbon incentive sectors, like the automobile sectors, the oil and gas sectors, they must have a climate change score of 3 before they can qualify. And then there is, to structure all this, there's also an exclusion piece, which is a blanket exclusion for all products. So manufacturers of weapons, tobacco, coal are not eligible even if they pass all 3. No, because this is just products that the investing community have said that they do not want to be included into the index. Okay, lastly is the controversies. So for controversies, so companies that are embroiled in controversies, like companies have had some major corruption charges against their board of directors, the company fleet, caused an oil spill in the ocean, or there's a acquisition of forced labor, slavery, human slavery, so things like this will actually exclude them from the index. So right now, out of the 260 Malaysian companies that actually have a chance to qualify in the index, 98 has met all these conditions, okay, as at the last review, and out of that, 77 are actually Sharia compliant, so that's why they are in the Sharia index. Okay, next slide, it's on where we are now. So the FTSE4Good index started in 2014 with 24 constituents. Right now, we have gone from strength to strength. Every year is a year-on-year increase, something that we are really very happy to see. We are now at 98 companies as at the last review. And even in terms of the ESG ratings, we started 2014 with 1.31. We are now at 2.74. And when we look at the composition of the FTSE4Good index, right, it is quite wide-ranging. All sectors have representation, and in terms of the market cap, also it ranges from the KLCI to mid cap to small cap. All are represented. Okay. Okay, I think the last slide is the last slide for FTSE4Good, which is the research process. This is especially important for the folks in the room that have never gone through a FTSE4Good assessment. First thing I would like to tell you is that not to worry. This is just a high level, I would say, preview of what's to come. Some of you may have been invited to participate in another webinar that will be run by our partner, FTSE Russell. They will take you through details of what is going to happen and everything, but this is just to give you a preview of what's to come. Number one is that assessment is done by an analyst, and it only considers public disclosure, like what I said just now, right? And the assessment is only done once a year. So assessment cycle is two-pronged, once in June and once in December. So if you're picked for an assessment in June, the work actually commences 4 months prior to the June final results. So for June, you start in February. February, the analysts will go to your public domain and start picking up all the information that they need to do the assessment. So after they've done the initial assessment, they'll actually feedback to the company, which is number 2, and tell the company that this is what I have picked up from your public domain. Look through and see whether or not I miss out anything, right? So you are given 4 weeks to go through that. And after 4 weeks, the feedback processes close, and that's when they start finalizing. So the analysts will go through, do all their due diligence, ensure that everything is mapped out properly. And then number 4 and 5 is where the results are announced, and in June and December itself. Okay, so if the assessment happens in December, the same process. You start in August, and then by October, November. Actually, right now is one of the period that is to finalize the December assessment cycle. You would be getting your 4 weeks window right now for some companies to do the assessment. Okay. So after that, finalize and it will be announced. And if you are a new inclusion onto the index, right, FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Index, you actually get a letter from Bursa Malaysia signed by Dato' Umar to congratulate you in joining this elite group of companies. Okay, so that concludes the overview for FTSE4Good. Okay, the next one, let me see, I have about another 25 minutes or so. Okay, this is the next topic, which is on the infrastructure that Bursa is building to actually help with just transition for companies. We call it the Centralized Sustainability Intelligence Platform, CSI, because it's very easy to remember, right? No, CSI platform, no? So, okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay. The CSI platform started with our 5-point plan, to contribute to Malaysia's journey to a green economy. So in the last 12 months, these are some of the key milestones that we have put in place, that we have achieved, and some of the things that we are continuing to work on. The first one is the announcement of the mandatory ESG disclosure for all Malaysian PLCs. That this is where I spoke about the 22 mandatory indicators that's common across, right? That's one. Number two is FTSE4Good scores for all these companies as a transition tool to help companies know where they stand in terms of the ESG performance. This is what we have put in place. Then secondly, in the Invest Malaysia KL this year in March 2023, Prime Minister Sri Anwar Ibrahim actually announced that Bursa Malaysia will be coming out with a centralized intelligence platform, sustainability intelligence platform, that is developed together with London Stock Exchange Group. And this will be a national infrastructure that will help companies disclose better and have their disclosure to be expanded in a meaningful way, and it can reach the target audience more effectively. Okay, and following up on that very closely, we actually onboarded corporates together with banks, coupling them together with banks to be the early adopters, and we focus on sectors that have a high priority in decarbonization. So we are building verticals or tracks that is based on sectors and appointing one corporate to represent the sector, not as a use case. I will show you later who the early adopters are for each of the tracks that we've selected. And we also, number 4 is working together not only for Malaysia, but we are building an ecosystem that is intended to be globally connected. Henceforth, in I think September this year, you would have noticed that there was some announcement about Bursa signing an MOU with Indonesia Stock Exchange and Stock Exchange of Thailand about building an ESG ecosystem, that will make sure that these 3 exchanges are working together, collaborating on something that is similar, that will be able to help companies that is listed in the respective exchanges to use and to help with them with their reporting. And the intent is to make sure that this infrastructure that we build will be interconnected. That's very key. And number 4, the 5th one is about ensuring that that there is a lot of announcement, a lot of tools that a lot of agencies, NGOs, rolling out to say that, this tool will help you do this, such and such. So we want to make sure that everything, this conversation is not fragmentizing the market, because that is adding sometimes, although the intent is very noble, is about helping with just transition, helping to keep costs down, and helping to expedite and escalate things faster. It sometimes confuses the market. So in order for us to ensure that if we streamline some understanding, align all our efforts. We actually, Bursa Malaysia actually work with the government agencies like the MOE, Ministry of Economics, NREC, NRICC, MOF, Bank Negara, Securities Commission. We all agreed that let's work together, and let's see how we can leverage on each other's policies and utility of the platform as much as possible. So a lot of agencies actually do have some broad or principle-based frameworks that they have asked their own constituents to report against. But the thing is, there is no infrastructure or no portal tools to actually help them report. So our offer to them is that let the CSI platform be the tool that you can leverage on, put in your requirements onto the tool so that it can be rolled out to the market. Okay. So, okay, this is who the early adopters are. So what we wanted to do was not only ask corporates to disclose for the sake of disclosing, just because you must comply to standards, disclose. We didn't want to stop there. We wanted them to find value, real business value in doing the reporting. So it's from disclosure to getting your own carbon profiling, and then thereafter extracting the carbon profile of not only yourselves, but also have a view of your supply chain's carbon profile. And from there, get access to the financing that you need in order for you to transition and decarbonize. Okay, so we started off with the first vertical was the automobile vertical. We partner UMW with Maybank, because at the end of the day, the end of the cycle of this entire proof of concept was financing. So you will see that it is always a corporate together with a bank. So for oil and gas, we were very fortunate to be able to work with Petronas, and with Petronas, we are partnering them up with CIMB Bank. Property vertical was Marsing, more of a smallish property developer, and they are coupled with a bank that had a strong focus on SMEs, Alliance Bank, and they have actually made some progress in terms of financing for this particular vertical, because they were smaller and they are actually more agile, right? So it was easier for them to quickly move on from one stage to the other. And our latest vertical, not last, the last one has yet to be announced. The latest vertical is from the logistic vertical, just announced last week. It's with Westport and OCBC Bank. And there is another upcoming industrial manufacturing vertical that we will be announcing very soon, because this is very much part of our collaboration with MITI. MITI was very concerned, and they wanted to help their constituents, which was manufacturers that had no exposure to exports. How do we help them with their reporting and not overburden them with multiple reporting that's required by multiple stakeholders. Okay, next page. Okay, this is just to give you some flavor of what the MOU with IDX and SET was about. So this is about creating a bridge, building an alliance for Global South, starting with ASEAN exchanges, and so that we can have a more compelling and stronger voice when we go and talk to our business counterparts in the Global North. So the first one is we want to ensure that when we do things right, we are not doing things Malaysia, like it or not, we have to acknowledge we are a very small country, small economy, small stock exchange, right? So if we band together with our fellow exchanges, we have a stronger voice. So it's mostly economy of scale, and we want to be globally interoperable, want to maximize business value, because once we put companies on the platform, that means we are actually opening up trade opportunities for companies that are disclosing on the platform, because then you only need to key in your information, your ESG disclosure into the platform. Then we can actually connect you with partners in the developed countries that is actually looking into the platform to actually get access to new suppliers or suppliers that are transitioning better behave. Okay. And this is just to facilitate dialogue amongst the region and ensure that our voice is heard. Okay, so we are starting off with these 3 exchanges, and with us 3, right, SET, IDX, and Bursa, we are continuing the journey and trying to also convert and onboard other exchanges onto our course. And right now, there is a UN Sustainable Stock Exchange global dialogue that is happening. So this is a conversation that is happening right now at Abu Dhabi. Okay, the second development is on next page. Is on this NIMP new industry master plan that was announced by MITI early this month. Okay. So what MITI and Bursa at our discussion with each other that we agreed on was that MITI would have its framework out announced to companies that falls under their jurisdiction, and companies will be encouraged to use all the framework to report, but in order for them to do so, they can leverage on the CSI platform. So this is how it will work through the all this framework that is out in place international. We are also aligning them to what is happening back home. So we have our Bursa requirements, we have the SE's SRI taxonomy, we have the climate change principle-based taxonomy by Bank Negara, and then we have SSM that is also looking into how do they come out with a directive that will encourage better disclosure. So all this has been consolidated and compiled into a framework that MITI has put together. It's called the IESG, that has 50 indicators, and they are asking companies to start transitioning, start looking at it, especially for the ones with export focus, the 25 to begin with for the next 2 years, and then slowly we work towards all 50, complying to all 50 indicators that is put up as a best practice. So all this will be housed under the CSI platform to allow you to report better. Okay, next page. Okay, this is to illustrate in a diagram format what CSI platform will look like. So the box in the middle is the CSI platform. So before you are able to get meaningful information into the platform, you must first have something that you are doing in place, right? We call it the upstream piece, which is about your company's own reporting system, how you collect the data, how you get information from your stakeholders, right? When you want to do your maturity assessment and such, it is all done outside of the CSI first. Then once you've done that, then you get the information and you key it into the platform. So what this platform does is that it is intended to be a golden source of truth, a one-stop shop. Means you should ideally only need to key in any of the ESG information once, and your stakeholders, be it your banker or your investors, will be able to see it through this platform. That is the downstream piece. So our proof of concept right now is very much on the ones that are in P, right? You can see the P that at the top. So these are part of the proof of concept. So what it does is this: for the CSI, there is a disclosure piece, which is the mandatory disclosure piece. We set aside. That one is addressed in using Bursa link. Okay. Then we have the climate analytics, and the climate analytics is actually something very interesting because we have I spoke about ISB, DCFT, GRI. We have our own standards, our IESG and everything. So how it works is that this is supposed to be a tool that will allow you to comply to all these standards that I spoke about. And what it does is that it has this comprehensive list of question banks. And if you were to say that you want to comply to, say, I want to look into doing TCFD, then only the TCFD questions will pop out, and then you can answer. And if you say you want to comply to everything will come out. And then once you answer everything, it will show you how many percent you have complied to this standard and that standard. I think this is something that is quite common for any tools in the market, but something that we are offering as well. And what differentiates this particular CSI from the rest would be actually the carbon management side. So for carbon management, what it does is that the strength in this tool is actually on the scope 3 emissions data. Scope 1 and scope 2 is something very much within your control. Scope 3 is where you need your supply chain to play ball with you. And supply chain, the small guys, sometimes it's not in their best interest to come and respond to a survey when they ask them, can you give me your emissions data so that I can populate and see what my scope 3 is? If there is no stick coming out with them, they will just say, okay, I'll set it aside, I'll do it when I want to, or no, incentivize me, why should I do it, right? So this for this particular CSI module, how we do the scope 3 is a little bit different. So we don't start off with survey to companies. We start off with you yourself getting an estimate of your entire supply chain's scope 1 and scope 2 that's contributing to your scope 3. I mean, that's wonderful as it is, right? Because you imagine, you are cutting down the amount of work that you need to send out surveys to your supply chain to ask, and then chasing them for a response. And if you get a 20% response, it's already considered a win. So we don't want to do that. We start off with an estimate. So how the estimate works is that we are partnering up under this solution that London Stock Exchange Group has rolled out. There is another component that is specific for scope 3 calculation that we partner with a provider called Fair Supply. What they do is they are mainly a data company with data solutions modeling. So you only need 3 parameters in order for them to give you an estimate on your scope 3, your purchase of goods and services. One is the name of your supplier. Second is the industry that the supplier operates in. The number 3 is where is the supplier located at. So with these 3 parameters, they are able to actually give an estimate down to that particular supplier. What is their scope 1, scope 2 that is contributing to your scope 3. So once you have that, probably Fidaus, can you maybe move to the next slide? It's easier to explain. So this is how it works, okay? So we start off with public listed companies using the CSI platform, number 1, and getting the scope 3 emissions estimates from the parameters that I spoke about, right? So once you have that in place, there will be a dashboard that will allow you to manage your supply chain. So your suppliers will be segmentized in accordance to their carbon profile. So the green one will be the ones that are really on top of their game, really decarbonizing very well. The emissions data is low comparatively. And then we have the red ones, which are the ones that are not there yet, that actually need some nudge to move the dial and move them towards decarbonization. So from there, you will know, okay, if I am looking at my target for 2050 for carbon neutral net zero, who are the ones that I need to manage? It's very obvious, right? The ones in the red, right? So once you have this picture, at least you know where to start. So this tool will allow you actually the ability to connect with your supply chain directly in the portal. So there is no need for you to send out an additional email or give a call to the suppliers separately. You can just, through the portal, connect with the suppliers and tell them, okay, this is what I have gathered this is my estimated scope 1 and scope 2 for you. Do you agree? And if you do not agree, what must you do? Right. So that is where the SME will get the opportunity to participate in training, capacity building programs. That program can be tie up with UNGC, with CMM, SEDG, with CRIM, with your own vendors program, or even with your partner banks vendor program. It can be anything, and then help them to gravitate towards what is correct. And of course, once they are ready, we also invite them to come back on board to the CSI platform to give you their actual emissions data. So it can, then they will get the opportunity to get a more accurate picture of where your scope 3 is. So from there, we also want to incentivize them. It's not just about us coming up with a stick and saying, oh, you are red, you need to decarbonize. Otherwise, I'm gonna start paring down my business with you. I'm gonna start looking elsewhere for somebody who's greener. That's the stick. But we also want to help them, right? It's not just about us saying that you must do this because it's the right thing to do, but must also let them see the business value in doing that. That's where we connect them with the banks. So a lot of this SME may need working capital, not only for green financing. They may also want working capital. So that's where we introduce the element of invoice financing into this entire picture. So invoice financing works in a way that they will be riding on the principle the listed companies own credit, and not allowing the banks, the partner banks, to come in and actually have an early payment system in place for invoicing that you want to finance with the particular vendors that you have selected. So for this entire program, that's how we partner a corporate with a bank, to begin with, to work on this entire track, for this CSI platform. Okay. Next page. Okay, so just to, I think I've spoken a lot, just to bring you all back into what CSI is. In a nutshell, is intended to be a one-stop centralized solution. So we are going to streamline reporting for all your stakeholders so that you only need to key in once, and it should rightfully address all the needs of the stakeholders. And very importantly, we are starting with listed companies, yes, but this particular infrastructure is not only for listed companies, it's intended for all companies. So eventually, right now, we are using the anchor PLCs as anchor, inviting SMEs within the supply chain to participate. But once we operationalize this, the SME can also potentially come in as their own principal. Okay. And how it will be useful for your organizations, just to recap: aligning disclosures to best practices and global standards. We are going to help establish a digital carbon profile for you and your supply chain. And then we are going to unlock sustainable financing, supply chain financing opportunities by connecting with the bank. And lastly, also, we know that with any new tools, new solutions in the market, we cannot expect companies to just hit the ground running, right? There still needs to be some form of help and everything. So we are actually working with a partner to actually help onboard companies onto the platform, ensure that the data ingestion, the data collection piece can all be scaled and done. Okay, I think I've come to the last page, which is what's next. Okay, you think that, okay, I'm interested, I want to do this, so what is happening right now? Right now, we are still doing the early adopters program. We are going to close that loop, doing the financing, ensure that all verticals are running. And right now, as you are one of the participants to this awareness and market engagement program, which is not something that is offered by Bursa. And the system for CSI, we anticipate it will go live first quarter of 2024. So right now, if you are interested, there is a QR code on your screen. So you can just register your interest, and we will make sure that we have more communication going out moving forward before we go live. So you will be apprised of any development that's going to happen, and onboarding and any other communication will be channeled properly thereafter. Okay, is there I've come to the end of both my FTSE4Good and CSI platform talk. Any questions, Michi, that you have for me?
Yeah, thank you, Huyin. It was very insightful. Yeah, there are a few questions. There are 4 questions, in fact, in the Q&A chat box. The first question comes from Hoylin. She asked, any consequences if the FTSE4Good score is low?
That's a very good question. I think it's something that companies are asking a lot of. Not to worry. Like I said, the intent of this is actually a tool to get you moving, right? A call to action to help you kickstart the process. So if you do not have a score, you do not know where you stand, then you are not likely to move. But if you get a low ESG score, right now, the good news is that on our website, everything is masked 1 star to 3 stars. So the worst case scenario is that you get 1 star, but people do not know what your 1 star stands for. So that's the good news. But then, this is for you to know where you stand and where your peers stand and where you want to move towards. So there is no implication, there's no penalty. Not to worry. It's like I said, it's really Bursa funding your ESG journey for you. So take it as a positive.
Okay, thank you. The second question by Edwin. We were previously included in the FTSE4Good Index, but was subsequently dropped due to low liquidity. Can you advise why would low liquidity be an issue for inclusion in the FTSE4Good Index? Thanks.
Yeah, I think as it was explained in one of the slides, Fidaus, if you could just very quickly go back to the FTSE4Good, up. The investable universe. Next slide. This one. Okay. So FTSE4Good score in the previous times was only accorded to companies who qualify in the AMAS. So in order for you to qualify the AMAS, these are the 3 criteria. So it's very important for an index product, right, to be liquid. I think this is a consideration because we want to do passive investment, and you want people who are tracking the index to be able to buy and sell the stocks fairly easily. So that's why liquidity is a very big consideration when you craft index. So that is also why we know that index may not be a fair view when it comes to putting an ESG lens on it. So we wanted to move out of index as the only means for you to get an ESG score. That's why we are expanding the ESG universe to all companies. Okay.
Third question. Plantation industry faces higher risk when it comes to ESG matters. Is there any EAP under plantation industry?
Is there any what? Sorry?
EAP. Yeah. Kasturi, could you write the full abbreviation of EAP? Okay, maybe we can go to the next question first. Is it mandatory for all PLCs, including ACE Market PLCs, to report in CSI?
No, it's the mandatory piece is only for the Bursa's own mandatory disclosure piece. CSI is an option for you as a transition tool. So that is why we are saying that we want to ensure that more companies participate. So when you scale, then is where you keep the price points down, and when you make sure that what we want to achieve, interoperability, the ability to work with other stock exchanges opens up. So it is now purely an option, but we are looking at how we can help drive adoption, maybe through funding.
Okay, Going back to the question earlier, so plantation industry faces higher risk when it comes to ESG matters. Is there any early adopters program under plantation
EAP, is
industry?
it?
Yeah.
EAP. Sorry. Okay. For now, okay, we did at one point consider it. Right now we are coming to a close for our EAP, and these 5 verticals are actually quite heavy lifting, on everybody's part. So we may consider it if there is a real interest from a plantation company together with a bank. No, but right now, not just yet.
The following question, will FTSE do its assessment for financial year end June 2023?
June 2023 would be in next year, definitely. So if you are in a new UNIUS expansion, and you did not get picked up for this December's assessment, then it will be in June next year. And when they do for June next year, it will be based on the financial year, the reporting 2023.
Okay. Will there be subscription fee charged for the CSI platform after the adopters program ended? And if so, what is the estimated amount?
Okay, I need to paraphrase my boss, Dato' Umar. He says that I envision that this tool will be the cheapest in the market. That is his promise to the market, and this is something that we are trying to ensure happens. So yeah, this is what this is what we will commonly answer to the market. Right now, we have not firmed up the subscription price yet. Like I said, no, we're actually looking into how we can help move things along by actually funding this entire platform for the first year or so.
And what are the benefits for FTSE4Good Index inclusion, since all PLCs will get an ESG rating by 2025?
Not so much index inclusion. For index, I think it is very much about you being on the radar of for product issuance, the passive investors. Yes. Also for addressing any of your stakeholders requirement, institutional investors or investors, and doing business with clients overseas, right? I mean, this FTSE4Good is a globally recognized standard. So if you say, okay, I have qualified into the FTSE4Good, they would recognize that you have actually met all the very strict criteria, to qualify. But for as an ESG rating itself, right now, like I said, no, it's very much a transition to something that we want companies to actually know, and to actually just inform them that, okay, this is your standing right now. If you're happy with it, continue on that track. If you feel that there's room for improvement, please ramp up your efforts.
Okay, and there are many rating agencies out there. Does Bursa in future intend to include other rating agencies?
As you know, ESG ratings comes at a cost, right? And also we need to be a bit prudent about how we do this. And we acknowledge that FTSE4Good may not be, we never say that it's the best and it's the one that only Bursa wants to work with. But this is because it's a strategic assets that we already have. We are just expanding on our strategic assets. We from 2014 until now, we have already collected 500, 600 data points. The 500, 600 companies with their ESG data points. So it's just a matter of expanding it. So it was a conscious choice on our part to expand it using FTSE4Good. The intent was always to get an ESG score out for the market. So FTSE4Good is the transition tool that we are choosing, but that doesn't preclude any other institutional investors or banks that want to have another view on things to also do an assessment on their own for their own investing companies or on their own portfolio. So you know that some banks, they are using other solutions. No, they will continue to do so. But FTSE4Good is just one that is overall for the entire market.
Okay, we have last two questions here. So question from Chinyo. He would like more elaboration on climate analytics in the slide earlier.
Climate analytics is actually just it's about climate reporting, more towards climate reporting and creating a dashboard on what you're reporting and to see how many percent you're complying to the global standards. It's just a dashboard for you to track your own reporting. And there'll be some peer analysis that will be inputted going forward, and this is something that we are working with our provider to ensure that the dashboards and all the tools that comes with make sense and is effective.
Okay, maybe one last question. To be included into FTSE4Good Sharia Index, the assessment will be done automatically based on the public information of the PLC. No application for assessment from PLC side needed?
No, exactly. I mean, it's inclusion into the index. I said it starts off with to see whether you qualify into the MAS first. Then thereafter, the ESG assessment will take place automatically. The feedback process is a value added. Even if you do not take up that window of opportunity to provide feedback, right, the assessment will still pull through. It will be finalized without your input. Then once it's finalized, without any intervention, if you are doing well in terms of disclosure, you will get included into the index actually.
Okay, thank you so much, Hui Yin, for sharing your insights and expertise on sustainability and ESG investing. But before we end the session, we would like to remind the participants that the recording will be uploaded to Bursa Malaysia's website. Do write to us. Do write to ir4you@bursamalaysia.com if you want the slides. Again, thank you all for your participation and questions. I hope today's event has inspired you to take the next steps on your journey to sustainability and ESG integration. There are many resources available to help you on your journey. Please go to our Bursa Malaysia website. Thank you again and have a great day.